Nice Radio's Kalaloo presents Just Another Look. Just Another Look is an innovative, exciting, albeit decidedly provocative and yes, certainly controversial socio-political analysis of issues of a local, regional, and international nature. Just Another Look is heard only on Nice Radio. Usually first aired on Saturdays at 6 p.m. with repeat broadcasts on Sundays at 9 p.m. However, today we have a very special edition of Just Another Look. You can always catch us on the World Wide Web, www.niceradio.info. You can check out our Just Another Look blog, www.justanotherlook.com. And of course, you also get our programs on YouTube. I am, of course, Keith Joseph. Today, dear friends, is Tuesday, the first day of January 2019. Today is New Year's Day. Welcome, welcome, welcome to a New Year's Day special edition of Just Another Look. It has long been commonplace, dear friends, for many people around the world to seize the opportunity of the closing of one year and the commencement of a new year to engage themselves in some measure of reflection, which we did on Saturday last, and to establish some New Year resolutions. The idea being that you want to overcome the intransigencies of the past. You want to be a better person in the next year. You want to do more to become that individual that you always desired to be. You want to make your family, your home, your community better places. You want to make your society a better place. So Vincentians normally join the rest of the world in making New Year resolutions. Today, Just Another Look gives consideration to what we may well wish to see happen in our once beautiful country over the next 12 months in the hope of effecting meaningful change. Note we say once beautiful country, because there's so much that has happened, as we pointed out in highlighting 2018, the year in review, in our last edition, first aired on Saturday the 29th of December 2018. So much continues to happen that we keep hoping that this is not allowed to define who we are. And we believe that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is not what it could be. given the immense potential that we keep saying we possess. That somehow we can move beyond just mere individualism to a collective identity that is recognized as contributing significantly to contemporary and future civilizations. There is much that is good in us, and for which we must give thanks. But we must put that good at the service of our fellow men, not fearing anyone, not inhibited by anyone, eagerly applying our critical thinking skills to analyzing the state of our society and committing to making a contribution essentially aimed at allowing us all to realize our full potential and make St. Vincent and the Grenadines the beautiful place it ought to be. So what are our resolutions at just another look for 2019? Well, here goes. The first resolution is about developing our faith. Developing our faith. Old people always say, put God first. Put God first. And this is as it should be. Many appear to have been keen on ensuring that St. Vincent and the Grenadines becomes a secular society. And in that secular society, there is no place for God. Many people, for different reasons, wish that we do not talk about the existence of a God. But we have. And you will recognize that in the midst of slavery, there were in fact religious groups that pointed to the inhumanity, the injustice, and the unchristian-like behavior that was characteristic of slavery and fought against it. Indeed, that included some who were involved in slavery. And the Wesleyans, the followers of the religion founded by John Wesley, are very much aware of his experience and what forced a change in his life and allowed him to create an institution, or to give rise to an institution that he felt was going to encourage people to resist any temptation towards a return to that kind of behavior, that kind of lifestyle. Increasingly, in this country of ours, our religious institutions reveal themselves as having experienced so much by way of unacceptable conduct. Unacceptable conduct of some of their leaders, unacceptable conduct of some of their members, and as a consequence, they also have to contend with what they perceive to be a significant drop-off in membership in religious institutions. Yes, it is fine for the religious leaders to say, don't look at the religious leaders per se, because they too are human beings. But they have given a commitment to a quality of life that is founded in faith. But because they too must recognize that the church membership, the members of religious fraternities are also human, that there's a tendency for them to have faith, not just in God, but confidence in their leaders. When disappointment comes, when they recognize what has transpired before them, they shy away. And that includes when they recognize that their leadership fail in their fundamental mandate in our society. There's a lack of trust. The point being made here, dear listeners, is that many of our religious groupings must inevitably shoulder the blame for the loss of interest and the declining membership experienced by their respective institutions as a result of the poor examples that many of them have displayed. That is our reality. And so, when people hear the Christmas messages or read the Christmas messages, and you look across the broad spectrum, everybody is anxious to talk about Christ. And suddenly they expect that everything else that they have done during the course of the year, including preying on other people, including taking advantage of others, including turning a blind eye on injustices in the society, that suddenly all of those things must vanish. And that the members of society must understand it is Christmas. So let's just forget everything for the time being, because it's a time of love and sharing and caring. And then come January the following year, we go back to exactly how it was before. Nothing has changed. It was as if we had just a brief respite to recoup and to come and do the same thing again and again and again and again. God is still there. And Vincentians are still, for the most part, a Christian society. A Christian society. But if we believe in the existence of a God, then we must allow our faith to more readily guide us in 2019. If we believe in the existence of a God, then we must allow our faith to guide us more steadfastly in 2019. To allow our lives to be imbued with that faith. And as Christians, we must also accept the role that Christ adopted in his own life. We must recall and endorse and participate in the public ministry that he undertook. He got up in the synagogue and read what is not only his mandate but that of every Christian. According to the Gospel of Luke, chapter 4, verses 18 and 19, Jesus read, and we quote, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives and the recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." End of quote. Of course, the part he read was taken from the words of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 61 in the Old Testament. So what is the mandate that we have as Christians? It is to allow our lives to be driven by faith. To allow our lives to be driven by faith. And to recognize that we have a commitment to those who are oppressed. A commitment to those who are rendered poor by our behavior in society. People don't make themselves poor. They are rendered poor. We shunt them aside. We push them away. We treat them as though they are less than human, forgetting that on many occasions, it is upon their backs that we climbed in order to achieve the success and our eagerness for mammon in our own lives. Yes, if we are a genuine society, we look after everybody within it. Not just those who are our friends. Not just those who have the same resources as we have. But we pay particular attention to those in need. Those who have been rendered poor by our very lifestyles. We look for those who are in need. He's come to let the blind see, to free those who are enshackled, to put an end to oppression. When we look around in our society, we see so many people who have been taken advantage of. And we do very little for them. It is the reason that in contemporary times we talk about us not being a Christian society. Of us not being a Christian society anymore. It is very unfortunate, dear friends, that in this St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have allowed ourselves to become so very materialistic. To the extent that we no longer appear to have time for the cultivation and development of our faith. We have become so obsessed with our pursuit of mammon that we continue to ignore our fellow men. We continue to turn a blind eye. It's not our business. We believe that part and parcel of development is the loss of community. We actually believe that. We actually believe that the more developed a society becomes, the more insular its members. And you hear our people talking now about, I'm only looking after numero uno. I am looking only after myself. I'm done with helping others. I'm done with doing things for others. And all too often they forget that the reason they were helping others was because they wanted to help themselves. They wanted to appear to look good. So sad that this is what we have become as in our society. One has only to look around, dear friends, and evaluate for ourselves what we have become as a people, what we have become as a Vincentian society. Look at the way we treat each other. Look at the way our drivers behave on the roads. Look at the way they treat some of their passengers who merely ask that the volume of the music be turned down. Look at the level of disrespect they have for the use of the road. Look at the behavior of so much of our society. Our lack of patience. Our loss of respect for each other. So that these days, one has to be careful that if one happens to be bounced by another in walking on the street, to quickly turn around and apologize even though you are the recipient. Because the other is so ready to unleash a litany of expletives against you. We have become insensitive to the needs of others because we are too taken up with our own needs. Over and over again, we are being brought to the realization that our lack of faith has been a critical factor in the degradation of Vincentian society. We have allowed power to so corrupt us. That we see the politicians engaging in excessive greed because they perceive themselves to be in possession of power. We see them engaging in debauchery, wanton infidelity, and yet, instead of rebuking them, we are anxious to be with them because we desire so much from them. We want to associate ourselves with them, and for them to recognize us as doing so in order for us to enjoy the dribble that emerges from their wanton expenditures. They recognize that so many of our people within our society are without appropriate and adequate resources, that they take pride in doling out this and that for them. And we consistently talk about our society not just being authoritarian, but presenting itself in governance almost as a sort of benevolent dictatorship, where we distribute spoils as a means of maintaining effective support and hopefully political control. In 2019, dear friends, we need to recommit to a life imbued by faith. A life imbued by faith in God. And a profound desire to live in accordance with the Christian principles. In 2019, we are asking Vincentians to return to the mandate that Christ took unto himself when he took up the scriptures in the synagogue and declared his purpose here. Ours can be no different. It is not the well who need the doctor. Our society is as good as its weakest member. It is as good as its poorest member. 2019 offers us an opportunity to become a wholesome society founded on our Christian values. Yes, values change, beliefs change, and they impact behavioral change. But let those changes not be of a type that leads us into greater darkness and drives us further and further away from God. The second resolution, dear friends, is an appeal for us to use 2019 to rethink what it means to be human. Let us rethink on what it means to be human. Over the past several years here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and certainly continued in 2018, is the seeming loss of respect for human life. Murders continue to increase almost unabated in our small country. We have 1/3 the population of Barbados. Less than 1/3 of the population of Barbados. And yet, we have so many more murders than they have in a single year. What has become of us? What has become of us? The number of and gruesome nature of the murders committed in our country should rightly leave us particularly bothered coming out of 2018. We have witnessed the last 10 to 15 years what can only be described as an unacceptable murder rate in this country. And there are so many other heinous crimes that may well not be reported, and which unfortunately may not enter the public domain enough for us to be bothered about it. But we know that they exist. We understand that many people are no longer reporting some crimes. We know of incest. We know of bullying. We know of domestic violence. Crimes that are not always fully reported, if reported at all. One has only to pay a visit to a session of the family court to understand what has become of our society. We ought not to leave change in the hands of others. We, each one of us in Vincentian society, can commit to help to effect meaningful change in the way we conduct ourselves in society. Each and every one of us. Our resolution must be to vehemently reject the claim by some of our government ministers that only those who are into something should be afraid of becoming victims of crime. We must reject the view that only those who are into something will kill or be killed in our society. We must reject it as utter political trite. We have made reference time and again on this program, Just Another Look, to that ridiculous statement about only those who are into something will become victims of crime. And we have also referred time and again to the experience of Saboto Caesar, the Minister of Agriculture, to his wife. She was not in anything, and yet she became a victim. And she could easily have become the victim of a more heinous crime, not just a little robbery. Much more could have been done to her. What was she into? In 2019, if as a society we do not take stock, we will not see an end to these kinds of situations. They will instead increase. We fail to acknowledge that each year the cost of living continues to go up. Each year we are having higher levels of unemployment and underemployment. And each year an increasing number of Vincentians will find that their take-home pay cannot take them home. And others will have difficulty finding a means to get home or to put something on the table. The 19-year-old teacher who was brutally murdered while on her way to receive her first paycheck did nothing to deserve the kind of death perpetrated against her. But this is what has become of us as human beings in Vincentian society. We believe that it's all right. Certain people are involved in that, not us. It would not affect us. What about the children who have not yet even reached their teenage years, but are the victims of rape, sexual assault? If we're doing that to the babes in our society, what can we expect? If people in our society are targeting babes for rape, what can we expect? They did not do anything. We must reject the view of the police officer who dared to blame the way girls and women dress for the commission of rape and perhaps sexual harassment. What dress code did a 5-year-old or 8-year-old or 9-year-old child or 11-year-old child who was raped, what dress code did they have? Let us not trivialize the crime, dear friends. Let us come to an understanding of the extent to which we have lost our humanity. We have in many instances forgotten what it is to be human. That's why we ask for this resolution. To rethink what it means to be human in this current period. To take hold of ourselves. To save humanity from itself. We must forgive those who fail to understand the dynamics of crime. And we must pray and continue to educate those who seem to lack that understanding. And to continue to promote meaningful change in who we are. If we are to change the society, we have to change who we are. We have to give ourselves a new mindset, a new way of thinking, in order not to fall prey of what is being fed to us from the international media. We must understand that the Minister of National Security has failed Vincentian society. And so too many of his officers in not getting a grip on crime and the causes of crime in Vincentian society. Perhaps, dear friends, just perhaps, it may well be that they have all forgotten what it is to be truly human. It's amazing what power can do to individuals. And one has only to turn on the television to get an idea of how destructive power can be to humanity. Our resolution calls for a rejection of that approach. For us to revisit what it means to be human. Through the ages, in all of human history, mankind has struggled to find what it is and what it means to be truly human. And as Vincentians, we must revisit our lives and strive to be genuinely human. Yes, to be passionate about things, but to allow ourselves and our way of behaving to be imbued with a sense of caring for others, a sense of respect for others and for oneself. For ensuring that there is a meaningful sense of purpose in everything we do. In everything that we do. We must become better persons individually. And we must allow our lives to exude good example at all times, so that others around us would always be positively impacted. We must see life as offering us an opportunity every day, every moment, to constantly evaluate ourselves in all aspects, and to commit to striving after excellence as human beings. It makes no sense to strive after academic or economic excellence if at the end of the day we have lost our humanity. It makes no sense to become geniuses of any sort in any field of endeavor if the price we pay is the loss of humanity. Our resolution is to strive during 2019 to be human. Our society needs it in 2019. Our third resolution, dear friends, from Just Another Look for 2019, is an appeal for Vincentians to commit to genuine love. Commitment to genuine love. For some time, Vincentians have grown accustomed to hearing the concept of labor love. It has remained a nebulous concept because it is founded in political demagoguery, often what we refer to as political demagoguery. As fate would have it, the concept of labor love, as we have experienced it here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is a fallacy. There is indeed nothing that can even be remotely characterized as labor love. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as in much of the world, we have a very clear understanding of what is supposed to constitute genuine love. And we understand too the difference between agape and eros. Unfortunately, we have come to an understanding of the importance of eros, eroticism, to many of our politicians. We can safely state today, New Year's Day 2019, that Vincentians individually and collectively need to recommit ourselves to genuine love, agape. And reject the eroticism that our politicians and some other leaders in our society have unfortunately adopted as the new norm or the new normal. in 2019, let us reject that nonsense. Let us call a spade and tell them that we reject that nonsense. Over the past several years, we have had the specter of Vincentians being treated to a Unity Labour Party promotion that Labour love is a new concept that would somehow take St. Vincent and the Grenadines onto a new phase of genuine love. But as time wore on, Vincentians have come to the realization that Labour love has nothing, absolutely nothing, to do with genuine love. Labour love is bogus. Labour love is not real. Labour love is not genuine. Labour love is a distortion. Labour love is a distraction. Labour love is decidedly partisan. Labour love is tribalistic. You know, at weddings, pastors are prone to read Corinthians. Where St. Paul speaks of love. It is patient. It is kind. It is not boastful. But importantly, pastors also read the words of Christ himself. Love one another as I have loved you.